Thank you. And again, I just want to echo that's such good advice, and it's just difficult in these tough fiscal times. The statement about don't shortchange the future, you know, as you focus on the present. And again, you two have worked so hard to make sure in this particular case that has not been done, and that's been a real challenge. Let me ask, I want to ask something that I'd like to get your all's opinion on real quick, and I think this is important. While the U.S. cooperative programs with Russia were expanding in the 1900s, including Russia joining the Space Station International Partnership in 1993, it also became clear that Russia was a source of sensitive technology to Iran. The Iran Non-Proliferation Act of 2000 was enacted to help stop foreign transfers to Iran of weapons of mass destruction, missile technology, and advanced conventional weapons technology, particularly from Russia. One of the things that act did was to ban payments by any agency of the U.S. government to Russian government agencies for work on the International Space Station. This provision has raised difficulties regarding U.S. access to the space station. In 2005, Congress amended the act to exempt Soyuz flights to the space station from the ban through 2011, and in 2008 the exception was further extended through June of 2016. It's been said that without further extension of this exception, the current restrictions will severely limit the U.S. from sustaining and fully utilizing the space station. The United States would have no means of transporting our astronauts to and from the space station. And equally important, relief is needed to clearly enable NASA partnerships with some U.S. commercial partners for space station crew and cargo services that utilize Russian space technologies. So with the planned extension of the space station operations till at least 2020, it seems that an extension beyond 2016 is needed. So can you comment on that and just kind of clarify your thoughts and you know, where you think we need to go in that regard? I'll start with you, Mr. Gerstenmaier.
As I've previously testified here, I think we will likely require some exceptions to the North Korea Syria Non-Proliferation Act as you described. We need that for a variety of activities. We do basic engineering with the space station, other activities of which we have to pay for, or we even barter for services, and we will likely need some relief for that restriction that sits in front of us.
And what would be the consequence if we didn't get the relief?
We would still have to work with our partners. The way we understand the restriction is it also doesn't allow us to barter. I think it says for goods as well as funding. So we barter for a lot of engineering analysis and other things. We would not be able to have the support that we need to operate the space station without some relief to that act. And we'll still continue to work with our Russian partners. Maybe they would donate that engineering service and that research service without bartering for it. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that really, it goes back to, I think, some earlier testimonies that was given down here. The commercial folks really need some certainty of where they're going and to be forward, and to sit there with this uncertain thing going forward, I think potentially impacts the ability for us to use ISS in the most effective manner.
So the uncertainty is as much a problem as anything.
Yes, because I think we could debate whether we could work around this in some way. There may be a way legally to get through it. It'll take us a significant amount of time to do that, and while we're going through that period, there's a fair amount of uncertainty with that. But they might be better able to address it from their perspective than tonight.
Ms. Melroy.
Thank you, Senator. We have been informed of the same things that Mr. Gerstenmaier has said from industry, has also told us the same things, and we support our NASA colleagues in this.
Dr. Dillingham.
That issue is something that we haven't looked at this point in time.
Okay. Mr. Gold.
Our company has, of course, conducted extensive operations in Russia, and if I could just add some fire to the fuel of your concerns, I think we also have a broken export control reform regime. Mr. Gerstenmaier correctly points out uncertainties. We never knew what to expect relative to technology that we could share or could not share. The system is obsolete, second only to ITAR. Gravity was the greatest potential to keep us from launching, and we need to get reform language into the National Defense Authorization to take care of this issue so we can protect our technology in a better fashion.
Yes, sir.
Senator, it's clear that we're quite interested in providing commercial crew services to the ISS, and therefore we sort of need the ISS to be there for us. So it appears that the current legal thinking is that some relief will be required for NASA to be able to pursue the agreements that they have, excluding perhaps the Russian Soyuz, or even not thinking about the Soyuz situation. There are some other things that are important for the survival of the ISS. So even leaving that part out of the equation, we support whatever is necessary to ensure future use of the space station.
Very good. Dr. Dillingham, as the I think Mr. Gold referred to you as kind of the final authority on some of these things. Tell us about, can you update us on the status? We've been talking about indemnification. I think, the first two witnesses, I think everybody on the panel has mentioned that. You have had some recommendations to the FAA regarding the process. Can you give me a further update on what's happening with your recommendations?
Yes, Senator. We looked at the insurance regime, and one of the things, as we talked to many people in the industry, the launchers, the launch providers, and FAA, it was clear that the third-party indemnification is very important for the industry to, mature and move on in that area. One of the things that we had discussions with FAA about was the maximum probable loss calculations and the way that is currently done by FAA, because it has an effect on the potential liability for the federal government. If it's one way, it could be more liability for the federal government. If it's done another way or done incorrectly, in any case, it could be less, more or less. And FAA agrees that their maximum probable liability calculations is rather dated, and they also agree that it is something that they would like to update to more modern techniques so that they could be more definitive in the insurance and the risks that the government would be exposed to. And they also, of course, indicate that it's not going to be free to do that. So the indemnification regime is important. However, that part of it, we think is something that needs to be relooked at after all of these years.
Should we extend it before your recommendations are put into effect?
I think so. I mean, we didn't talk to anyone in the industry who would say that this is something that shouldn't be extended. Indemnification is present in all of our competitors around the world. You've heard the captain say this morning, and we heard it several times in our work, that in terms of competition, without that, it could have a potentially negative impact on our ability in a competitive way, raise the cost of launches, and send business across the water. Also impact on our national defense as well, our industrial base. So yes, it's very important. We didn't get any strong sense that it should not be extended.
Okay. So we should extend, but this would be a good time to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.